Welcome to the first installment of Whiskies of the World. Today we're talking about Scotch. Hey guys, welcome to the Bourbon College YouTube channel. I'm Austin and I'm enjoying Scotch without breaking the bank. So today I want to introduce this whole new idea of World Whiskies as a series on my channel. I'm also going to give the history of Scotch today, a little bit, very quick history, and I want to talk about one of my favorite whiskeys, Laphroig Lore. All that being said, here's the info on Laphroig Lore. Laphroig Lore is an Islay single malt Scotch whiskey, the product of Scotland, that is at 48% alcohol by volume. It is liquid drawn from a selection of aged casks, has crafted a rich and deep malt with distinctive smoke, peat, and seaside minerality. All right, so Laphroig 10 was actually my first Scotch, and I fell in love with the smoky peatiness. And when I had this, I fell in love with it even more. I'm gonna give a quick review of it today. Might do it again on a Scotch Saturday sometime, but today is about Scotch in general, mainly. Scotch. Let me pull up my notes here. All this information comes from other YouTube channels I've listened to, my own research, and specifically for my notes. An article on the Scotch Advocate. I'll link it below. I highly suggest you check it out. So Scotch whiskey, Scottish Gaelic using Uskabatha, which got shortened to Uski and then whiskey, is a Gaelic word for water of life. So whiskey became known as the water of life. For us, it's simply known as Scotch because the Scotch whiskey is from Scotland, and that's just easy to say. Scotch has a long history. It's one of the first distilled spirits. Definitely one of the first whiskeys in the world. Scotland and Ireland kind of did that side by side. We'll talk about Irish whiskey in the next episode. But Scotch can be broken up into many categories. First, the main categories to be considered Scotch in general, it has to be distilled, barreled, and bottled in Scotland. It has to be in an oak barrel for at least 3 years. It has to leave the country in a bottle to be considered Scotch. The mash bill can be anything from 100% malted barley to almost what we'd consider a bourbon mash bill here in America. But the age statement on the bottle, just like whiskey in America for the most part, the age statement on the bottle is the age of the youngest barrel in the blend. If it's a single barrel, it's the age of the barrel. If it's a blend or a blend within a distillery, but a blend, it's the youngest barrel, age of the youngest barrel there. So give you a quick nose on this Laphroig. Oh, it's peaty, smoky. Oh, so good. Band-Aid. But a rich butterscotch as well, more so than on the Laphroig 10. It's got that salty peatiness up front for sure, but then it releases like a sweet note, and then ends with campfire smoke. Really good. It's my favorite. It really is my favorite Scotch. I'm so weird. I love the sweet bourbons, but I love the smoky Scotches. So, some more distinctions within Scotch. A single malt Scotch means it's from one single distillery. The malt means it's made from 100% malted barley. Single grain Scotch is again a single distillery but made from different grains. It could have wheat, rye, maybe even corn in there. And then you have blended malt and blended grain. Blended malt being blended from barrels from different distilleries, but all 100%. It's still 100% malted barley, and blended grains, just what you think. Different distilleries blended together from different mash bills, and that's your basic overview of Scotch. Words are hard. It's your basic overview of Scotch types. They're also separated by region. Like this Laphroig here is an Islay. It's from an island called Islay. It's a small island with a bunch of distilleries. and they're known for their smoky peatiness. But other regions are known for their sweet. There's I'm not gonna list them all off the top of my head. But there's like Campbelltown, Highland area, Speyside, the islands. I'm missing a few, but that's the basic regions. They all have different distinct flavors. I mean, you can get 5 different islas, and they're all going to taste completely different, but they're all going to have the underlying peatiness or smokiness usually. But what I found interesting is those regions often have their own definitions added to the regional definition of Scotch. So to be considered a Islay Scotch, it has to meet certain criteria, not just being made in Islay, which is interesting to me. I didn't know that until yesterday, actually, in doing this research. Scotch is the biggest whiskey industry in the world right now. I say that bourbon might be bigger, but amongst the enthusiasts, Scotch has a lot hotter following than bourbon does. Although bourbon is catching up and getting close, sometimes it even for a little bit surpasses. I'm still a bourbon guy, but this is delicious. Scotch is, up until recently, Scotch just dominated everything. It's like wine. You know, people think that French and European wine, although that stigma is changing as well. French and European wine is the top notch compared to California and other American wines. But bourbon's building, but this is about Scotch. To finish this off, really, Scotch, you're going to get, in general, a butterscotch note. You're going to taste that barley for the most part. But to me, coming from bourbon first, I thought all Scotches tasted the same, other than some are smoky, some aren't. And then I started getting into it, and they are really different, really complex. It's a completely different world from bourbon, but similar things. Different distilleries do completely different things with a very limited scope of what they can change, and yet taste completely different. So if you haven't tried Scotch, I suggest you try some. Maybe don't jump to the Islas, but try something a little bit better. There's plenty of forums out there about great Scotches for bourbon drinkers, so you can definitely check those out. If you love Scotch and you haven't tried bourbon, bourbon's a great jumping point from Scotch as well. So I can promote it both ways. Anyway, guys, so the last thing I have to say is the competition's still going on. Make sure you subscribe, and as soon as I hit 50 subscribers, I'm drawing a name for a Bourbon College Glencairn. All you got to do is comment your favorite whiskey on any of these videos. And also, if you complete the survey that's below, you have a chance to win a sample from anything in my collection. I highlighted a few bourbons earlier, but you can even pick Scotches. My website has the full list of what Scotches and bourbons and whiskeys I have in general. So you can try that. Also, one person's going to win a Glencairn and a sample. So definitely go check that out. It's easy. It's free. You have nothing to lose. So I suggest checking that out. Anyway, my official recommendation on the Laphroig Lore is a keep. I paid about $88 for it. It's so worth it. I love it. Anyway, thanks for watching, y'all. Cheers.
If you want more Bourbon in College, follow us on Instagram at bourbon_in_college and like our Facebook page. Subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast player. Find all these links and more at bourbonincollege.com. Thanks, everyone.